I'm instructed to ask you to please turn off your cell phones. And if you haven't figured out from this gentleman in the corner, this is on the record, and in fact, we're on C-SPAN.
I kind of see this as a multitude of problems. I mentioned in my opening statements we overclassify, which is a problem for the American people because that means it's not transparent. And sitting on the intelligence committee, I get to see what is secret and what is top secret, highly classified and compartmentalized. One of the other things I see is in 5 different instances, we have people who are doing the investigations who are also doing the adjudication. So we have an absolute conflict of interest in terms of separating of authorities and responsibilities in 5 areas in the clearance process, 5 separate areas where we have the same person adjudicating, or the same firm adjudicating what was cleared, what was investigated. Third, as we've noted, we have 3 different instances in our very remote history where we've obviously failed in terms of our clearances, whether it's Bradley Manning or what happened here at the Navy Yard or what happened at NSA. We have a failure. And the other thing we have is now we know that we have 8,400 people with clearances that don't follow the law when it comes to paying their taxes. And half of them have a top secret clearance. You know, the American people ought to be asking, what in the world's going on? And so my question is we've now seen outlined who's ultimately responsible for it. That's the DNI, correct? And we have the Defense Department that's making improvements but still has a way to go. And we have failure with contractors and allegedly not doing what they're supposed to do. There's also another IG investigation going on along with that. So what's the answer? One of the answers has to be doing the job that we do better. 1. Number 2, the other has to be is using data that is available. You know, the form, where's that form? This form, for $20, you can get 90% of the information on the internet that's in this form. Now, we pay $2,400 for top secret clearance. Is that right? It's about what we pay. It's about $2,400.
For top secret, it's more than that. It's a little over $4,000.
Okay, $4,000. What for a secret? What do we pay?
About $262.
Okay, and for $20, you can find out 90% of this stuff online right now.
I met with the members of the review group to discuss that report, which they submitted last Friday. We will have a readout of that meeting for you later today. For now, I just note that the President is grateful to the group, Richard Clark, Michael Morrell, Jeffrey Stone, Cass Sunstein, and Peter Swire, for devoting themselves to this effort over the past several months and providing thoughtful input for the administration to consider as we conclude the ongoing interagency review of signals intelligence collection being led by the White House. Now, over the next several weeks, we will be reviewing the review group's report and its 46 recommendations as we consider the path forward, including sorting through which recommendations we will implement, which might require further study, and which we will choose not to pursue. It's a substantive, lengthy report, and it merits serious review and assessment. When we finish the internal review, the overall internal review in January, the President will deliver remarks to outline the outcomes of our work.
You just returned from 10 days in Europe. You were speaking mostly about privacy issues. Can you tell us a little bit about the mood there? And of course, we're all so aware of the fact that with the NSA surveillance revelations, the line between commercial privacy and government privacy has been completely blurred, and there's been a real change in the mood.
Yes, so it's been interesting, and a number of people who are here were there with me. We're also in Europe, and so we'll be able to comment on this when we get to the question and answer period. You know, we should start out by saying the U.S. and the EU and Europe have a long history of cooperation. I mean, you know that better than anybody from your perch at the OECD. And I think that we need to remember that and keep that in mind as we're thinking about and trying to work through some of the latest areas of a troubled some of the latest areas that are causing tension in a relationship that is basically very, very sound. The NSA revelations have created tension. I mean, there's no question about that. And, you know, it's gotten as much press as it's gotten here in the United States. I think it's actually probably gotten much more in Europe.
When we finish the internal review, the overall internal review in January, the President will deliver remarks to outline the outcomes of our work. Anticipating this question, I'll go right to the answer. While we had intended to release the review group's full report in January, as I said earlier, given inaccurate and incomplete reports in the press about the report's content, we felt it was important to allow people to see the full report to draw their own conclusions.
The message to the NSA is now coming from every branch of government, from every corner of our nation. NSA, you've gone too far. The bulk collection of Americans' data by the U.S. government has to end. The review group came to the same conclusion that I have about the utility of the Section 215 phone records program, the same conclusion that Judge Leon found just the other day, calling it unconstitutional. They said Section 215 was not essential to preventing attacks and could readily have been obtained in a timely manner using conventional Section 215 orders. They say, what many of us have been saying, that just because we can collect massive amounts of data doesn't mean we should do so. And they say, quote, although we might be safer if the government had ready access to a massive storehouse of information about every detail of our lives, the impact of such a program on the quality of life and on individual freedom would simply be too great. Senator Lee and I and others have legislation to curtail this. I think for the sake of our nation and the sake of our Constitution, we should.
More about data protection and internet privacy in a moment on C-SPAN 2.
Internal review is completed, the President will make remarks about the work that he has undertaken and the outcomes of his review.
You can read the NSA review, which was released just days after a federal judge questioned the constitutionality of the NSA surveillance program. Go to our website, cspan.org.